And we're back. It's the Movie Club with Friends, your number one movie review show. How are we all doing? You guys good?
Yeah, doing pretty good.
Ready to talk movie? This week's movie was an interesting movie choice from an interesting person.
Interesting as an
from an interesting person, Gabe. So why don't you give us your interesting facts and opinions?
Well, we should say we watched.
Yes,
Captain Fantastic.
Fantastic.
2016. Viggo Mortensen.
Bebo. Excuse me, Mike. I chose Captain Fantastic, mostly because, when I start to think about it, it's just overall, I could watch this movie so many times over, personally. But I'll kind of just start getting into it. I would rate it probably 9 out of 10 and loved.
Wow.
And I think what I love most about it is the extreme nature of it, of that whole family. It's just very fascinating to me. Obviously, something like that would never probably exist, and they even bring the point up in the movie that this what you have doesn't exist anywhere else, which probably would never kind of exist. But loved the extreme nature of it, and I felt like the progression throughout the movie, it had all the points you would want in a movie. You had your climax. I just like how it flowed really well, and then even the ending was really nice, and the ending was just super. It just made me feel more at ease about the family and calm and just happy for them and everything. But I think one of the biggest things that gravitates myself towards this movie is that I share a lot of the opinions of the dad to some degree, not to his ridiculous degree, but to some degree.
Well, what I was going to ask you is, when you have kids, Gabe, are you going to move them out to the forest?
I'm not an outdoors kind of person, so I'd never do something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely a city boy.
Yeah, you and Julia would die in 3 days.
You almost died from an ant bite. I remember.
Yeah.
But I agree with Gabe. It's something so motivating about how intelligent his children are. And if you think, it's really funny, because if you think statistically, he has, how many kids were there? There was 1, 2,
6.
6 kids. Was it 6? I thought it was 6.
Oh.
Maybe it's 7.
No, it's 2 and 2 and 2, 6.
Yeah, so with 6 kids, it's just really interesting to me, how influential, your, I don't know, the way you grow up, can be. And it's funny that you said that it doesn't seem realistic, because the director, the writer of this movie, Babe, Matt Ross, he based this movie off of how he grew up. He grew up in the Northwest and here in the U.S., and it was really unconventional. I live in the middle of the woods, just like they did.
I can understand that too. I can understand raising a family in the woods, kind of in that setting. But for them to be as smart as they were when it came to science and literature and history, that is the part that I'm I don't know, if you're living in the woods, that's such the kids would think, oh, this is such a, why am I doing this? I feel like they would riot a little bit more than just listen to you and do your homework and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. They were unrealistically smart to me, but I really enjoyed that part of the movie too. So I won't really get into many different scenes. I'll kind of just piggyback on anybody else that wants to talk, so I can leave some things to be said from everybody else.
You gotta talk about your favorite scene, though. You always talk about your favorite scene.
What scene?
The one where the kids are...
Well,
Is it the cop one? Is it the cop scene?
No, that one was hilarious, though.
Is it when his dick is showing?
Yeah, it was whenever Viggo was like, it's just a dick.
Everybody has one!
No, I guess my first time watching it is my favorite scene. I don't know. I have so many of them, but I loved whenever they were... what were they doing again? They were checking the mail?
I thought they were in the bank.
Getting some money? Were they at the bank? Yeah, they're at the bank. And they're all just sitting there, and they don't go out much, right? So they're just looking around and they're like, oh my god.
Oh, yeah,
everybody's fat.
Yeah.
And then that wasn't even the part that was my favorite part of it. My favorite part was the dad's like, come on, we don't make fun of people. And then the kid's like, well, we do.
Oh yeah.
We can
Except
think
Christians.
it.
Except for Christians, yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah.
And and he just kind of stops in his tracks and it's saying, he's like, well, shit.
Yeah, he must talk a lot of crap about Christians in front of them.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll leave it on to somebody else to kind of keep it going.
Okay. I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10, and I liked it.
Ah, I'm surprised.
Wow.
Yeah, it grew on me during, like, at the beginning. I wasn't really feeling it, but it pretty quickly got me interested into it. It's kind of your typical. What I got from it was a indie movie vibe, road trip movie, which I would say it is.
Yeah.
I like the kind of overall message that the end of the movie gives you is like, how do I say this? Like, you can have the best intentions, but sometimes it's still the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So he just got so into this life that he made with his wife and his kids that he was too into
He lost sight.
too
Yeah,
evolved.
he lost sight.
And he was just kind of blinded by it, and it took a lot to get him out of it. And like, they can still have their kind of life, but still go to school and stuff. Like, as we see at the end of the movie, like, okay, they're not in the middle of the woods, but they're living off a farm. He can still teach his kids to read books and not play video games, and he can still
And appreciate
teach
the
them.
world.
And he can still teach them. So, yeah, I didn't think that's where the movie was gonna go. I thought it was gonna be more about the journey. So with road trip movies, it's kind of like, they meet wacky people on the way, or they have like little soulful moments, and that did happen. But this movie was just kind of different because
Too idealistic.
yeah, I know I'm kind of losing my train of thought.
I think
here.
it's all about, like, it's funny. I talked about this before in like other movies. Like, it's about balance. Like, I think, like, I don't know. Like, you can be way
Two
too much.
extremes.
Yes.
The grandpa of extreme, society,
Wealth.
and then the father of literal opposite.
Yeah, so what I got from it was like, so the mother, she came from this rich family where the grandfather's very, businessman.
Affluent.
And she's like, I want to get away from this. So she probably meets this guy. He was probably a little bit of a hippie beforehand, knew how to like build stuff and live off the lands. So she falls in love with them. She talks about going out to this, and they talk about, what they want to do with their lives. They get this idea in their head. They go with it, and then just got too involved. Like I said, I don't know. It's really interesting. I found
She's having second thoughts, and coupled that with her mental illness, it didn't bode well for her.
And
the whole movie, I really thought the movie was a lot about the dad's progression.
Yeah.
The whole time it was just continual progression from him. And then,
he's Captain Fantastic. He's a very educated man. He's very in shape.
I think the title is very ironic, honestly. Well, not ironic,
but he knows what he's doing, so he doesn't think that he's doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And then he finds out that, oh shit, I'm kind of a fucking asshole.
Well, I think ironic was the wrong word to say it, but like, there's something about I've talked about this before, but humanizing your parents, like your parents being human beings that make mistakes, because you can see it in the very beginning of the film. Like, all of his children think the world of their father and their mother. Like, it's literally only Relian, like the one who rebels against
a little bit of Bo.
Yeah,
little bit.
but it takes Bo really like I feel like Bo didn't realize it until they went outside of the world. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
obviously he had done some rebellion with the mother's consent, but I do think that like the Captain Fantastic is it's also an ode to your father and your parental figure being just like fantastic, but they're human and they mess up. And like, I think that like I mean the movie is centered around Ben, around Viggo Mortensen's character, his progression. But I just think it's so interesting because like it's very much a like film where like you see your dad give up on life and like after and but then you see like it's like the children that bring him back, like it's not even himself, like that bring him back. It's like the kids have to do it for the dad. It's just really, I don't know, it's really interesting in that sense, like if you think about like the cause of relationships and stuff.
Yeah. It also kind of talks about street smarts and book smarts in a way where, like with Bo, he's like, oh, like I know about the world, but I don't know anything about it. And
Yeah, I would say social skills, social intelligence.
I think Bo lost it whenever he had the interaction with the girl at the stop, where he kind of proposed to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it was a scene after, but that's when he like confronted his dad and like about the college and everything, and just went off on him.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
one thing I didn't really like how the conclusion happened, where he drives off, he leaves his kids in this with the grandparents, and then he lights that fire and he's doing whatever. And they just come out from like this secret compartment, even the one with the broken neck. And I was like, wait, what? And like, what happened? So they see their dad leave, and they're all instantly just like, I can't leave him. Like, we have to go with him. Even the kid that fucking hated him.
I think that's part of what I was saying though. It's like, I don't know, like realizing your parents fuck up, and like because he literally like he had like this long talk with all of them saying like, I have to leave you, I will mess up your lives, but all of these are like really like they're all really smart children. They're just like, no, like he hasn't messed up his life, like, and at the end of anything, like he realizes his mistake.
Yeah,
and
no,
I think that
I get that. It just kind of seemed forced. It already was a kind of 2 hours long movie, so I guess they just wanted to kind of wrap it up. It was just them coming out of the secret compartment. I was like, what?
I think I get that completely, but I think at the end of the day they had to have the kids reach out to the dad, and that was I guess
actually that's true. Like I can't think of another way to do it in the film, like how to be like other than because like the only way I would think, like if it was me, if I was a children, I'd be like in front of the bus, be like, no dad, you can't go, and I'd create like this huge dramatic scene, and maybe like I don't know, I feel like the director didn't want to do that because that's not how these children would act, or this family acts. So yeah, I think it's just really difficult, but yeah, that's a solid point.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know, maybe the kids don't just take the car, like with the grandparents' car or something, and catch up with them or something. Regardless,
I'm sure they don't know how to
not
drive.
super important. And the last thing I just wanted to say was I really kind of related to. I don't know their fucking names, but the middle kid.
Which one?
The pissed off one.
Relian?
Yeah, that was me, and like when my dad died, that was me. I was so mad and breaking shit and stuff, and I don't know. That's the kid that I related to. That was me when I was a kid,
I related more to Saja. Like I really like to stab people like animals and creatures.
Yeah, you had like cat head on you. But anyways, yeah, you can tell us about it, Julie. What do you think?
I really love this movie. This is probably like the 4th time I've seen this movie now. I think this movie, it's funny because like this movie, the whole point of this movie, in my opinion, is, like about the dad and about like you see him, like self-realizations, like mistakes and balance, like, but I think like for me, this movie is very motivating. Like if I think like in terms of like an educational standpoint, after every time I've seen this movie, I just like want to like go read a book and be like a little bit smarter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, I totally got that. When
like
when they were at their cousin's house and he
Yeah.
was, I knew that scene was coming. I called it, and they're like, "What's the Bill of Rights?" "Oh, I don't know. You buy something." And I was like, "He's gonna get the youngest kid to come down, and she's
Yeah.
gonna school him."
yeah.
That was amazing.
But I love the premise of his. I love the premise of like the whole having to explain yourself. Like that's really like my big takeaway. I think like even I mean like movie club's a good example of it, but you know I do tend to I see myself when I'm feeling lazy or I'm not really motivated to use very lazy language or to not explain how I feel about something or my analysis on something. So it's really motivating for me. Like one of my favorite scenes is whenever the oldest daughter is reading Lolita and the dad was like,
Yeah,
okay,
I
well,
like
tell
that.
us about it. And then she gives us a summary and he's like, no, like, tell us what you think of it thus far. And I just love that scene because it's really, I think it really emphasizes like why the hell this like why Bo got into like a million different colleges. Like these kids are taught to truly explain themselves and like how they feel about something or their thoughts towards something. It's really interesting to me, very motivating. And like it's funny, like I always feel like we watched this and we went grocery shopping the next day and I remember just thinking I'm like I can't even say some of the sentences that they said naturally. Like the like
Yeah.
those vocabulary words are not in my like vocabulary.
Yeah, you kind of that scene like with her describing the book, and then even with again like the Bill of Rights thing. The little one, he's like, "What's the Bill of Rights?" And she starts just saying them in like order. And he's like, "No, don't regurgitate like what they are. What is it? Like, tell me in your words what it is."
Yeah. That's
And
a common
that is,
theme in their education.
yeah, and that's something I really appreciate with how he raised his kids was he's teaching them and he's making them read and learn all this stuff, but he's making them understand it. And I think it's something that's not taught in our schools is like how do you feel?
Critical thinking.
Yeah,
Or
critical thinking. And yeah, and how you
That's
feel
essentially
about
what
it.
it is. It's critical thinking.
Yeah. So
It's
if
really-
I have kids, maybe I learned something from this movie. Because if I had kids, I guess I really would be like, no, tell me how you feel about this, though. Tell me what it is, but how does it make you feel?
Yeah, I think like when they go to his sister's house and like you see like the dumb cousins or whatever, it really is like an ode to like the critique of like typical, you know, like family upbringing, like not being that involved. And it's like it's even funny because they have like the dad that didn't like the mom, you know what I mean? Like, and he's just like the way he explains things are dumb. Like if anything, like that's how I explain things. Like the way like I related so much
She-
to the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was sick, and she died because she was sick from the
Yes.
sickness.
Yeah, and I'm like, I could see myself if I wasn't thinking, you know, like if I was being lazy, like exactly what I was saying earlier, like that's how I would explain something. It's just awful, and like not thinking about the words I'm about to use. And so I really think it's like it might be like obviously it's Hollywood, so it's a dramatic comparison for sure, but it's an interesting comparison to me. Anyway, like to go back to my like how I feel about this film, I think this film has like a really beautiful message. It's motivating, which very few films can do for me. And I think it's funny, it's hilarious, but dark too. Like it's very like we're talking about like I mean none of us have brought up the fact that the mother committed suicide. You guys, like this is like we're talking about like a very dark element that's driving like this entire family, and they're all very aware. Like that scene where the dad tells all the kids where she killed herself finally, like he literally uses the word she finally did it. You know, like it's just so dramatic. I don't know.
I think maybe it's not a big point because in the movie and kind of how he raises kids is he's very open. He explains everything. He doesn't lie to them. He doesn't hold anything back. So yeah, it hurts them finding out this information because they're kids, but at the same time, it's really not that important that she killed herself. It's more important that she like died.
That she's gone. Yeah, the end of the movie where they're all in the bus and they're just like looking at her body. It was so, I don't know, like, God, that seems so intense for me.
That's creepy. And I'm like,
That was
weird. So intense.
I think that kind of just goes back to how they're so in tune with nature and stuff. Like they kill animals all the time, so they're used to, I guess, dead bodies much. But that was still pretty creepy.
Cherishing what's there.
Yeah.
I like how whenever he was telling them about like how she died, or he used the word mommy instead of like mother, or like he was like talking about such heavy subjects, and he's like, "Your mommy killed herself last night."
Yeah. I didn't notice that.
Like,
I didn't notice that. Yeah, I think, and all the actors are amazing. Like all these kids were great. Like I even loved like the little boy, Nye. Like one of my favorite parts of the movie is whenever they're explaining sex to him. It's just like so like, oh, like the worst ever. Why would anyone do something like that?
I love how he gives them like the book and they're looking at it and they like hate it and he's like, "No, I got you a knife." Gives him a little joke. That's cute.
This is crazy. Yeah, and I think I also think the soundtrack is really good. I think it was really well done. Like they used really good music. Like to point out. It's like I swear, like the music. I feel like since this is the fourth time I've watched this movie, the only reason I noticed, I do think that the music and the tone of the music has everything to do with how the dad emotions feel. Like I think it's the music is completely translated to dad emotions.
Yeah.
Because it's like very like intense or happy or whatever, you know what I mean? But like it's just I feel like every single time it changed, it was because like his emotions were changing, and it was transformative in the movie because his emotions were transforming and his viewpoint. So I thought it was interesting. Anyway, at the end of the day, I'll probably give this a 9 and loved. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
interesting. Very interesting. Something I forgot to mention. I really liked when at the funeral of the mom, they were like, "Oh, here's your favorite song." So I was expecting some classical song, but it's the Guns N' Roses song. But then at the same time, it really like fit well with their family.
Yeah, right? It did.
Yeah.
It really did.
So anyways, let's hear Jeff. What do you have to say, Jeff?
All right. Well, this one was really hard to rate for me. I'll do my rating at the end. So when I saw this movie, I thought a lot about the movie Into the Wild, and I saw a lot of parallels and similar types of topics in each of the movies. Have all of you seen Into the Wild?
No.
No, you were supposed to choose it for one of your films that you didn't.
Okay.
Remember
Except
that?
you picked Red Line.
Well, there goes like half my talking point. Shit. Okay.
Go on.
Give us
Jeff. Give us your interesting opinions, please. Interest me.
So, this movie was definitely unrealistic. It was very. I want to use the word fantasy. It was definitely a fantasy. It felt almost as though I was like, when you watch an anime or something, and you're like, oh, this situation would never happen. Fucking this pushover guy getting all these girls a harem or whatever. Like, oh, this isn't real. Whatever. It felt almost akin to like that level of unrealistic.
Jeff, that happens to me every day. Okay, so.
And I say that's my first point would be like the level of intelligence that all of them have. I can understand to a degree how smart they could be and whatnot, but they knew Esperanto, Mandarin, German, and then like 2 other languages, not only fluently, but their accents were on point. First of all, how were their accents on point? How do they learn all these languages? Like you could argue, a few languages, but all of those, and then on top of that, everything else that they had, it just seemed. I'm going to use the title of the movie. It seemed a little too fantastic, Like, I think they definitely dialed it up way more than it needed to be. The message that they were trying to convey could have been conveyed in a more realistic manner, in my opinion. I also I'm not docking the movie for this because of the differences in views, but I did not like the father. I did not, his character, like how he was, how it was portrayed in the movie was good, I thought, but him as a person I did not like, because to me it seemed as though he was just indoctrinating the children. If you kind of pay attention throughout the movie, he'll ask for their opinions, and he'll ask, to critically think about things, but it's always with if it's something that's not of his opinion, or if he doesn't accept whatever it is, he will lash out at them and say, that's not how you should think, that's not how you should.
I don't
know about that. I don't think so. So the one thing I think one thing that we may be referencing is maybe what's his name? The day they had the anthropologist, babe.
Noam Chomsky.
Noam Chomsky Day. Whenever he said, "Oh, would you rather?" He was very opinionated whenever he was talking to his son about, "Oh, why don't we just celebrate Christmas?" And he's very opinionated in his characterization of Christmas. And, "Oh, do you want to celebrate some elf guy that he painted it in very colorful, fantastical terms?" But then he did give it to his son to say, "Hey, convince us of it."
So,
and I get that completely.
At the same time, he is kind of already belittling what he said. So by making fun of Santa and calling him a fantastical elf or whatever, it's already kind of putting him down. And this probably isn't the first time this has come up with this kid. So the kid's probably it doesn't matter what I say, because he's just gonna outsmart me. He's gonna just put me down in a way. So fuck it, I'm out. I'm not doing this.
Another thing that really made me think this way was the scene with the cop, the cop coming on the bus, and before he came on, he said, "Remember your Why are they training for, being pulled over? Why are they being trained for these different situations?
Because you gotta stick it to the man. Dude, they're extreme.
Jeff,
I think...
and another thing about that is, I know he's teaching them to stick it to the man, but to me, if you teach that to anyone from an early age, that's going to be their beliefs. I'm sure at some point, based on how intelligent the kids are, that he, presented to them other options of, other ideals, way of life, capitalism or whatever. But I'm positive he did not put it in such a light that was favorable for them.
Yeah, and this is kind of the point of the movie, and I don't think you are really supposed to like him, because as much as he thinks he's doing good.
That's why I said I'm not docking the movie for that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I don't like him, that character or whatever. But I am going to dock the movie for it's trying to convey, it's trying to convey these points, but it's trying too hard, I think. And I keep remembering this movie that you guys haven't seen, and how it does such a much better job at conveying the same points in a much more realistic and...
Just watch all of us hate that movie.
Yeah.
Good thing you're next. You could very easily choose that.
I think I am, but it's just... There's just...
But the thing is, he teaches his kids a lot of facts, and that's why he really doesn't take well to the Christmas thing. I can understand how he may give his opinion too much on economic models like capitalist versus Marxism and communism and all those sorts of things. But in a lot of ways, he's teaching them strict facts so that, you talk about indoctrination. So many people out there are indoctrinated into religions where there's no facts behind that shit.
At the very end, all of the children chose to go with him.
That's what I think that's what was my point earlier, is that you're talking about two extremes. I think they're very similar. There's something ironic about it. Yeah. It's ironic. Because he's being too extreme. He went too far.
This is the point of the movie. He thought he was doing good and being a great dad by doing this extreme thing, but the point of the movie is he realizes no, he went too far with it and he really fucked up.
Yeah, he went too far, but I can appreciate him really asking the kids to critically think. He teaches them facts, he asks them to critically think, which is much different than a lot of families in America
Yes.
now that indoctrinate their kids into things that, oh, you don't have to think, it is because it is. Like, think about what you're believing, all these different things. And I appreciated that aspect of it. Yeah, he was extreme in a lot of ways, but some critiques on society as a whole I appreciated.
It's interesting because like
Definitely. I did agree with a lot of his points and a lot of his teachings, like the critical thinking. I see all your points and whatnot. It's just my whole argument was paralleling it to the other movie, and it's difficult to not.
I've seen.
I know, but
Well,
I don't want to talk about
pick
it.
it,
If I'm
we'll-
making it,
we'll
yeah,
do
that's
it
the
next
thing. It's like I can't make the original point I was trying to make without using that in any of my discussion. So it's like I'm docking the movie for reasons that I can't really explain, like, because all the points you guys said are very true. That's the point. That was the point of the movie. That was the progression of his character, and that is a good part of the movie, and that's what it was trying to convey. But let me go to someone else. Let me try to reconvene my thoughts.
Well, okay. Well, I agree with Gabe's opinions on it, and I agree with yours. I think in a weird way.
I don't think you know what my opinions are.
Well, for what you have said, I back you up on him, almost in a way like brainwashing his kids into his beliefs.
But it's obvious he didn't, like, in my opinion, because like whenever he's in town with Bo, he calls Bo a Trotskyite, and Bo's like, I'm not a Trotskyite anymore, I'm a Maoist. Like, Bo has his own opinions. Bo sees the world from his own perspective, not from his dad's.
That's so true, Garrett.
Also,
Yeah,
at the very end, he lets Bo go off and like just journey by himself. Like,
But
he's
that's
actually,
after he's gone through the story arc.
That's true.
I think because this movie is kind of about a father and his kids, it will kind of, whether how much you like him or agree with him, just will kind of go with how you would be a parent in a way. Like, you're going to agree with some things he does because that's what you would do. The things that you don't agree with him, that's not how you would treat your kid or talk to your kid or how you would raise them.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, like, I don't think so poorly about video games, obviously, like, but he obviously really does.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance. So, yeah, like, it's just two extremes.
I guess one point that I'll make that's not, I guess, parallel with the other movie would be, I just wanted there to be more realism in not just the intelligence thing, but like I don't know. I think there would be so much more issues with them growing up, and so much of it seemed not unbelievable to me, but very unrealistic. Like, maybe it was. Go ahead.
Oh, well, yeah, I think I agree. Like, there's only one kid, arguably Bo, who is in any way kind of rebelling this like life that he made for them, where
Not Relian. It's probably Relian. Are you talking about Relian or
It's about
Bo?
Reliant, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
where so that arguably two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely agree with that.
Like, I think fuck, like, me and my siblings fucking rebelled everything.
At the same time, though, if you argue for Bo, he was raised to be self-sufficient and independent, and he pointed his finger on a map and is just flying somewhere.
So maybe
So-
like Bo being the oldest, maybe he was taught differently, right? By the time the other ones were growing up and learning too, they've kind of got more sucked into this weird lifestyle that they made. So Bo's a little more different, a little more open, where the other ones, like the other ones,
But Bo
didn't
also
go to
sets an example.
didn't
If Bo
go
can do it,
outside.
they can do it.
Well, all I'm trying to say is that I think that he is living kind of how he grew up or not, I shouldn't say that. He's taking the quote unquote lessons in some way. The extremes, I'm sure he doesn't do as much, but all I'm trying to say is the self-sufficiency and adventurous lifestyle that they kind of had living in the woods. He's at least taking that part into his next part of his life. Now, for anything else that he did growing up, I can't think of anything that he'd be rebelling to, but I can see the adventurous part of him. He's kind of taking on to where was he going? Namibia?
Namibia.
I don't remember.
Somewhere in Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I really appreciate about this movie is I think this is the best kind of open discussion we've had about a movie so far.
Yeah, this was actually really.
Movie motivates me to be smarter.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
Have you collected your thoughts, Jeff, or do you want Garrett to go and we can come back to you?
Yeah, go ahead, Garrett. Okay.
All right. So I'm probably gonna give it a 9 love. So I think this is the second time I've watched it. I remember the first time, I loved it. It was a great movie. It is motivating for me because after watching it this time, I need to get a book list. After watching this movie, I feel so uncultured.
Yeah.
It
makes you feel like a piece of crap.
I don't know any of the classics. I've never read any of the classics.
Yeah.
It's just, so yeah, it's motivating that way. And I think that Ben tries to, like Gabe said, he sets up his kids to be independent and self-sufficient. And I think that really shows whenever Bo gets all these acceptance letters to these colleges. And it's true that they're socially adept or inept. And
Read a book.
Garrett's like, damn.
Sorry.
I'm trying, all right? Fuck you.
Yeah, so they don't have the greatest social skills, but to get into these colleges, you have to be extremely smart, obviously, to get in every single one of these places. So, yeah, I don't know. I lost my point, actually.
Sorry, it was the adept thing. It's our fault.
You guys are assholes to Garrett, all right?
So, okay, are you good, Garrett? Okay, go ahead. Are you good to go, or are you good to...
Go, Jeff.
Okay.
We'll come back to you, Garrett.
So, the movie to me, so you guys saying you got, motivation out of it, you're like, oh, they're so smart, it makes me want to be smarter, in order to get to these Ivy League colleges, you have to be super smart, even though they were this, then they still got this or whatever. Hearing that makes me think, that's like saying the same thing as it's a fantasy, it's not real. This does not exist. This
Jeff,
would
you're
not
telling
happen.
me when you see people go Super Saiyan, you don't want to go Super Saiyan? Come on, Jeff. It motivates you.
But I think, it's the movie does the movie to me doesn't seem like it's trying to just give you those values. It seems to me like it's trying, yes, to send the message of balance or whatever, but it's doing so in the wrong way, because it does show two extremes, but it shows those two extremes to an extreme, so much so that it's just...
There's nothing beyond extreme. Extreme is the extreme.
Why do you think he's accepted into all of these schools? What you're saying is true. There's the two extremes where he had a fault on one side because of how much process and time he put into reading all of these books. He's socially inept. There was no balance to their lives, and I think that's why a few of them have lashed out because of that.
I don't know if you write a letter or anything when you apply to American schools. Like, do you?
There's like an essay.
So his essays were probably so different from everyone else's because they were not educated by the American school boards. That's probably why he got in, because he was so unique.
It just seems so convenient for the story.
So another thing, and that the scene when Bo gives him the letters, that kind of goes against the dad's like raising his kids to be independent and whatever, is he goes, "You went behind my fucking back. I let you go out to the library, and this is what you did. You go behind my back and like go against me." Mm-hmm. That was fucked up.
That was so fucked up.
The worst. Bo's the only one that's allowed to go to the library. At the same time, it's like
library.
We all have to read more books, okay? I'm not the only one.
It's true.
But yeah, and like it was kind of a fucking scary part of the movie because he was pissed.
Yeah.
Because his son went. Come on, he had a glass of wine.
He had a whole bottle.
He was drunk. I think he's supposed to.
I didn't realize that. Was he drunk during that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was. I think. Okay, let me sum it down to this. I think the movie to me would have been better if everything was toned down. If they weren't if they weren't giga smart, if they got accepted to not Ivy League, not every single Ivy League college, MIT and Stanford.
Everyone else can let that slide, right?
Super Saiyan smart.
He got into every Ivy League school, Stanford and MIT, and then it's just if he got accepted into like not like state colleges, but like lesser known colleges, and if they knew a second language or something, maybe even a third, I would have been more accepting of that. That would have been more realistic to me.
That's a fair point, but this is like another thing with Looper, where I just kind of think maybe you should just kind of let go of these little points and just enjoy. Well,
here's the thing: the movie's trying to convey these ideals of like you need balance in your life between society and then wilderness, and then thinking on your own, and then thinking with the capitalist mind or whatever. The extremes detracted from the movie to me. If it was more realistic, like if his grandpa was affluent, yes, but not living in a giant mansion, whatever. If he was just in a good neighborhood with a nice house or whatever, and then if he was more relatable in terms of that,
but
like you could see a normal family having this situation happen to where the daughter leaves, to go live a hippie lifestyle essentially in the woods with some guy. And I could see that being a real thing.
I feel like I agree with you, but at the same time, like I feel like people who like it's like the big rebellion against the way you grew up. Like I don't know, I see it with like Gabe and Garrett sometimes, because they grew up in such a small town, like very religious. Like Gabe and Garrett both have gone through major extremes with just like absolutely hating everything to do with like small towns, religion. Like Gabe, I think you guys can speak for me more. But like it's like
I'm gonna get a Baphomet tattoo.
But like it's like those I feel like it's like that I think they were trying to do that to like show like it's like the rebellion extreme, but she still like mailed her mom and was like, I need you to come get me, like I need you to come save me from this. And then she sends a letter saying like, no, never mind. Like obviously like she's having like I don't know, like she had her own mental illness, but like I think they were purposely trying to be extreme for the purpose of the movie. So I don't know.
They definitely were purposely being extreme, but that's what I'm saying. To me, I think it would have been better if they weren't purposely extreme.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be a movie.
It wouldn't have been as motivational to me.
That's not true. That's not true at all. Or at least to me, I don't believe that's true. I can see your way in thinking that, but I want to. I just want to reference to the movie.
The two extremes would have been highlighted as much, and it would have been a little bit more dull in that sense. And saying the kid's super genius intelligence.
But would something more relatable be more dull?
I think you're bringing up points that, like, I guess weren't very big for me. Like, in all honesty, it wouldn't have mattered to me if he applied for one school or if he applied for 6 and got into them. Like, it didn't do anything. Like, the amount of schools didn't make anything for me.
They
don't
could
think
have
it
got
needed
the
to-
same point across if he got accepted to like 2 out of 6.
I don't think it was relatable to me because I'm neither affluent nor do I live in the woods and know like 7 languages. So from that way, I didn't find it relatable at all. I just felt that it had the 2 extremes, and I enjoyed that part of it and getting to the balance.
Also, the point of him getting accepted to schools was more of not him going to school. It was more of him going against his dad. The fact that he got into those schools
That's
is
true.
important.
Yeah, because at the end
to
of the movie,
story.
he doesn't even go to school. He
Yeah.
goes traveling.
Yeah.
Like,
And I see what you guys are saying, and I agree with all those points. You know, him going to school wasn't integral. You know, how many schools he got into isn't integral to the story and everything like that. But this movie was made to be a movie, whereas it could have been like a documentary instead. You know, like if this was toned down a lot, this could have been a real situation that could have been, you know, this movie is based off real events, a documentary, but now it can't because everything's exaggerated.
The most unrealistic part to me was them successfully stealing the mother's casket
yeah,
and getting away with it.
that was so realistic. Yeah, I was like, "Where's the security guard? Are there no security guards?"
I thought for sure the grandpa dude, he was gonna just be like following them and then just be like, guys, I already burned her ashes. Here it is. Like,
We love you, Grandpa.
no, like he was made out as like the bad guy. Like there was no good part about him. Like they didn't even like make him into a good person.
But the kids
then-
love him
no.
so much.
And when it comes to, from Bo's point of view, so our point of view, yeah, he's a fucking asshole. But as Bo changes, the grandpa does become more
not
likable.
Bo's
Sorry,
the oldest brother.
Ben.
Really?
Ben. The
As
dad.
Ben changes, the viewpoint of the grandpa changes, and he just kind of becomes just a nice old man that just wants the
Like the
best for
scene
his
where they're like
grandchildren.
exercising together.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Yes.
You know, push-ups. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are also maybe misunderstanding my meaning. This isn't a bad movie, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying it could have been better in my eyes.
That's fair.
My rating is an 8 out of 10, and I disliked it.
So confusing.
I think was that what you gave the last movie?
No, I gave the last movies a high score, but then I hated it.
Yeah.
I saw its value in terms of, you know, cinematography and like, you know, how the pacing was and everything else like that, but I really didn't like the theme of the movie, and I don't like the ocean, whatever.
Yeah.
I really hated watching it, but I could tell that it was a good, well-made movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
that was
opposite.
the last movie was Kubo.
Oh, I'm
Like-
Sorry,
talking about
Master.
Jared's movie.
Yeah.
Commander. So,
Jared, Master Commander.
I was gonna
Garrett,
be like, you really hated the claymation ocean.
The 8-month-long.
Garrett, do you have anything more to add?
Not really.
Okay. So close us off, John. I didn't forget about you.
No, you're good. Yeah. Like there was just a lot of conversation around the whole movie, in a sense. But like, Jeff, I understand why you have such a struggle with like trying to relate to it. But like, at the very end of this movie, it's like it's more of a whimsical tale, more so than
That's what I'm saying.
It's very
Yeah.
whimsical because it's an indie movie.
Yeah, like this was not made for like a broad audience. This was definitely like that niche kind of like
Oh yeah.
feel to it. Like Gabe, I was gonna ask you, like, where did you
That was my
first
question
hear about
too.
this movie?
Yeah. What
This-
made you watch it?
So
I think it,
I know.
Can I talk?
I because if he doesn't give me credit, man, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
Ben, okay, you go for it.
No, you remember. You go.
Do I remember?
Gabe, tell us, and then Julie can fill in the blanks.
God.
Well, I'm not gonna remember, and she's gonna get all mad. It was in the Oscar. I think it was Oscar nominated, and that's. Let me check that out.
Dead air. We don't like dead air. Talking
Mike,
You
words.
don't make
Just edit this.
You know what makes
Edit whatever
awkward
you
silence more awkward? When you try to fill it with that.
Bad jokes. Bad jokes are great.
Oh yeah, the movie wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but he was nominated for Best Actor. Vigo was, and I think I was just looking at it. I was like, "Oh, Vigo, he's got nominated for something." I was like, "What is this movie?" And I just looked into it more and thought, "Hey, we should watch this," because it was getting good ratings, and just thought we should watch it.
Is that the truth, Julie?
No, but it's fine. I
That is the truth.
I want to hear your side.
We can hear the alternative version.
I follow Viggo Mortensen on Instagram, and he had like a clip of him doing his interview, and then I watched the whole clip of his doing his interview, and I remember he was talking about how he would not vote for, like he was first a Bernie supporter and then a Jill Stein supporter, and then but the whole reason that he was even on the show was because they were talking about Captain Fantastic, and how this movie was coming out, and like he draws a lot of parallels, Viggo Mortensen, on like why he wanted to do this film on his own political views, and I told Gabe that we should watch it because Viggo Mortensen and his political views.
You guys did like Bernie. Anyways, go on, John.
Dude, that right there though just makes so much sense about this movie. Like all this movie was just a bunch, like a slap in the face to like modern lifestyle and like going against the norm, and like a bunch of hippies that are our age are like
fucking
having orgasms watching this.
Live in the forest.
I'm gonna make a tiny home and go live in the forest. Yeah.
Like, I can definitely understand like the motivation behind this movie. I was super motivated and absolutely loved this movie. Like I've never seen this movie before, but I could probably say like this could possibly be one of my more favorite movies of all time. Like I'll probably give it a 9 and a love just because.
I'm so happy. Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys shared this movie with me, because it makes me think in a different light, and like even though it felt unrealistic at times, it still held realism during the movie. But with those radical thoughts obviously comes like those issues that arise, and it's a movie, Jeff, like it wants, you want the dramatic pulls during those movies.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's like a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's not what I prefer, and in my opinion it would have been better in the other direction.
So
in not such a theatrical way.
What about superhero movies? Like I don't understand. Like there's different types of movies that are like more realistic and like
He wanted a snore
grounded.
fest.
But he doesn't like boring movies because he doesn't like any of my movies.
What about the movie 300, Jeff? Those fucking like monster-looking things.
I'm
like,
not saying.
you didn't
I'm
have
not
an issue
saying.
with those?
Listen, I'm not saying all movies, should remove the theatrics and like the grandeur or whatever. I'm saying this movie in particular, in my opinion, would have been better had it removed those theatrics.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they included those theatrics. I'm saying, in my opinion, it would have been. So I mean, I guess technically I am saying it is bad that they included those theatrics, but it would have been better if they did not include them.
Okay.
The idea
It's a good movie, but
Okay, wait. I have a point I wanted to say for a while, and I always forget to bring it up. I don't know if this is relatable kind of to what Jeff said, but anyways, the movie Wanted, like the kind of action hero movie where the guy's curving the bullets. I saw that movie with a group of people. I worked at a summer camp. We all saw Wanted together in
What are you
theaters.
talking Wanted? I've never seen that.
So in the movie, they curve bullets. So to me,
Wait, is that the one with Angelina Jolie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I have seen. I hated that movie.
What?
So
Yeah.
so I go into the movie, I watch the movie, I get sucked into this universe and these rules that the movie states. I liked it. It was full of action. It was good. Awesome. I get out of the movie. I'm like, I really like that. Everyone in the car ride home, all 6 or 8 of them were like, I didn't like it. Oh, curving bullets? You can't do that. And I'm like, it's a fucking movie. Like, if that's what made you not like the movie because curving bullets is unrealistic, well, then I guess you don't like fucking, 99% of movies that come out. Because there's always unrealistic things that happens in movies because it's made up. It's fiction.
That's the whole premise of the movie, and they continued to agree to go see it.
Yeah. So I
don't think that's why I didn't like that movie. It was just I remember thinking that I watched Salt too, and
You're not a fan of Angelina, are you? Though
I am not the biggest fan of Angelina Jolie, so I think that's a really big bias. But I also think that I get both of those movies confused, Salt and Wanted, and I feel like that means that both of them are bad because they are not memorable enough for me. So
that's a really good point, Mike. And I see what you're saying, but at the same time, the movie Wanted made no attempt at, trying to portray this as the guy fucking, he revved up his engine in the elevator and then he flew across the sky. There was that movie was not being like, yeah, this could really happen, just release adrenaline and fly across skyscrapers.
No, but it takes place in our world, so this guy's just living his life, and then he's getting shot at, and he's like, whoa, what the fuck? And then these people are telling him, no, you can curve bullets, we figured it out. And he's like, but this is the real life, what? It was based in our world.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying, though. Even though that it was based in our world in a sense, the movie isn't. It's not trying to say that this is super plausible, right? It's not trying to convince the viewer that this is real life. Whereas in Captain Fantastic, to me, it was portrayed as this is a real thing that happened. That this is, this is what would happen, this is what will happen, stuff like that. The movie portrays it as not fantasy.
Okay.
And I don't like that. Whereas in Wanted, it's portrayed as a fantasy. Come on, that's a fantasy. That's an obvious fantasy, and the movie, makes no qualms about it.
If that's how you took in Captain Fantastic, then you can't really argue against it, right? Because that's how you took in the movie.
That's just my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just making this assertion because of you made a really good point with when you said your friends came out and they were like, I didn't like that because curving bullets is unrealistic, and if that's the same mentality that I'm having. If I like that movie because it's unrealistic, how can I not like this movie because it's unrealistic? But what I'm saying is that the movies are different in their intentions of conveying the fantasy realm of the movie.
Interesting.
Do you think this movie definitely was kind of being portrayed as more of a fantasy, with kind of tying it back to the Aquatic Life with Steve Zissou, with that Wes Anderson movie that I had you guys watch a few weeks ago? That movie, the art direction, the way they shot it, everything, even the clothing design, everything made it seem like it was more of a fantasy movie. But that kind of stuff happens in real life. So I think transitioning back to this movie, those realistic things that happened during the movie had more of a whimsical tide to them because it's a movie that, the art style that they wanted it to bring to the viewer. Just you wanted it to be a little bit more imaginative and happy-go-lucky.
Steve Zissou was more imaginative and fantasy-like.
Oh, for sure.
This movie, but but Captain Fantastic was not, where it was more realistic.
No, I think I just made my point the opposite way. Like,
I think
I thought that's what you just said, though, isn't it?
yeah,
there-
I was trying to.
So you think the colors in Captain Fantastic were very fantasy? Do you think they're similar to
so
Steve
both
Zissou?
both movies were.
Wait, I want to hear what John has to say. Is that what you were trying to get at?
Both of them, I think, the way that they shot it made the audience have a take that it was supposed to feel a little bit more like a fantasy.
Really?
But the things that happened during the movie felt real. Was like a real thing, but the way that it was shot, it was fantasy.
I disagree. I agree with the Steve Zissou one about it being shot like it was a fantasy, but I disagree with this one being shot as a fantasy. Huh. Anyway, Mike, what were you going to say?
I think both movies are pretty similar, especially hearing that this movie was based on the writer or director's upbringing, because the Steve Aquatic Life was based kind of loosely on Jacques Cousteau, where Aquatic Life is more satirical, more of a satire, so it's kind of like it's very jokey and very they used like the backgrounds and the props and how they dressed as a joke for their comedy, where this movie very similar, but it wasn't a satire, it wasn't a comedy, so it kind of just took a more serious face on a loosely based story.
I never thought we would be comparing these two movies.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know why.
I mean, they're both indie type movies. Like these,
Maybe
they're
that's
both.
why.
Yeah.
But-
A side
They're not going to
note.
be big box office.
Side note. I had
Wes Anderson is on his own little realm for me, though.
That's
like
true.
he's just so weird.
A side note. I had sushi with my mom and my stepdad the other day, and I was talking about all the movies we watched, and my stepdad hated Aquatic Life. He was like, "That movie is crap."
Mhm.
I thought it was funny.
I think we had somebody or two people like just absolutely hate it here.
Yeah, I think Wes
Like
Anderson's
Killer,
always
yeah.
hit or miss.
Yeah.
What? No. I like Wes Anderson.
Oh, you did? Okay, I couldn't remember who.
Yeah. I think I
Oh,
gave it like
it was.
a 5 or 6 because I mean I always rate it low. Every single time I've seen one of his movies, I never like it the first time. I always like it the
you said
second and
grows on
third
you,
time.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, keep going. John.
just to finish off, I think it's just nice that this movie kind of gives you a few key takeaways, like just the stick it to the man kind of thing. Like you don't want to go through life just accepting what like the way things are. You want to just keep asking questions and just making like your own thoughts and opinions on things. And I just really appreciated that because I don't know, it really feels like we have all the answers and that's it. Like we don't have to really think for ourselves like in this kind of day and age, but it really just like makes you want to go out there and actually like experience things and keep asking those questions.
It really made me think about how you should expect your life to be. Like there's been situations, I'm sure in all of your lives and in all of our lives, where like we're thinking about I need to get a steady job because otherwise my parents will be disappointed or whatever. Like if I were to go live in China right now and then work as a waiter for the rest of my life, my parents would probably be disappointed. They would want more out of my life, or they would want me to be a certain way. There's expectations in our society, right? And this movie provoked us to think, what do those expectations truly matter, and do we have to live up to those expectations, or can we live our lives the way that we truly want to? What will make us happy, what will make our family, what do we truly want in life? How do you want to live life, and what are you expecting out of it, pretty much? At least that's the kind of thoughts that it was provoking for me, which is kind of going off of what John was saying.
It's weird.
Yeah, I like that.
I agree with that, but I don't think that's what the. I kind of.
I'm not saying that's what the movie was about. I'm saying that's what it made me think about.
Yeah.
It makes me want to keep asking questions and like not have these formed opinions. Like
that's probably probably why this
when,
episode's so open discussion because we just watched this.
Well, I mean, whenever I grew up, like I was raised Catholic, and then whenever like we moved to a new house or whatever, like it was just easier to go to a Lutheran church, and then my mom thankfully gave me the option to keep going to church, or after I got confirmed, like it's my choice. Like I could do what I want, and I chose. I said no, I don't want to go anymore. Like I have my own thoughts on like why I don't want to go, and I gave it to her, and she agreed, and that was it. Like she gave me an open, but like path.
Yeah,
Johnny, that makes me sad. My mom did. My parents, my dad and my mom both did the same thing.
But I don't know. It made me just look back on that.
I was always raised to speak my mind, and I think that's probably why I'm so open. My mom had my mom had boyfriends growing up that legit hated me because they were like, I don't like the way you talk to your mother, and my mom would be like, don't fucking talk to him like that. Like he's allowed to say whatever the hell he wants. And I don't know, relatable story to the movie and what we were just talking about, I guess.
No, that's a good point. Mother wanted you to speak your mind and not. She wanted, obviously, I'm sure you respected her, but at the same time, she wanted you to not blindly be obedient.
Yeah, if I was mad at her or the situation, I was allowed to be mad. Where I don't think a lot of people were allowed to do that because I had friends that were getting kicked out of their house all the time because they would get in arguments with their parents, and they come to like stay at my house. Where I wasn't getting kicked out for those reasons. To say that, yeah. I got kicked out for other reasons.
I just want to end it on the fact that Noam Chomsky really is a scholar of this lifetime, and he's amazing. And I find it very awesome that they did such a big tribute to him in this movie.
Yeah, I knew the name, but I don't know anything he did.
I studied him so much when I was in college. He's like the king of my major. So
interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
He is
we should
a boss.
probably wrap this up, though. Anyone have anything else to say that very important they wanted to say?
Better not, because I specifically wanted to end about Noam Chomsky.
Okay. So, go read about Noam Chomsky. I can't even say the name.
That is hurt me. Legitimately hurt me.
Everyone knows Michael can't talk. But Jeff, what are we watching next week? Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, or
we're watching Into the Wild for sure.
I knew it. I was like, wow. So many parallels.
Yeah. Okay.
Into the Wild. 2000.
Does that mean it's my turn after Jeff? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. So
we ready, Johnny?
Go watch Into the Wild.
It's available on YouTube, Amazon Prime, Google Play, iTunes, and Vudu, all for the very low price of $2.99.
Oh, nice.
Please sponsor us, all of them.
Please, someone. Anyways, say bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.